Hey, Juanita, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hello, Mark.
Welcome, everybody, to Estate and Succession Mastery. Here we are on 11th of the 11th, Remembrance Day. So, in recognition of all those that have gone before, appreciate their contribution. So, today, anything you'd like to talk about first, Juanita, before we
I can't wait to get stuck in today's topic. I don't think I've ever done a session with an author extraordinaire before.
Who are you talking about?
That's you.
Okay, so today I just wanted to touch on the new book that we hope to have out by, we will have out by the 1st of December. And this is a compilation of my life's work, so to speak. But the questions are still out there. Is it the maroon one or the orange one? Which cover should we go with? So looking forward to any
orange, but being state of origin time, maybe I'm leaning towards maroon.
Well, absolutely. The reason we did the orange one, of course, is that's you'll notice that it matches the colour, our corporate colours, that orange. So that's why we've gone that way. Plus, it stands out a little more and it's bright and so on. But yes, I must admit, seeing today's state of origin too, maybe we should be pushing the maroon. But I thought we'd just take some time today, if it's okay with you, Juanita, and just talk about what we're going to put in this book. It's basically what I'm trying to do here is put our whole process. Excuse me. I'm taking this book to put all our wisdom, our processes, our tools, capabilities, frameworks, anything that we have done, all the tools that we've used to help people, everything is going in this book. And why you should read this book is because from a starting point, we're going to put some stories in here that hopefully will resonate with you and might help motivate you to take action in regard to getting your succession planning done. The reason we've called it Succession, Legacy and Dignity is obviously we had to cover off succession planning because that's kind of the centre of what it is that we do. Legacy seemed to be a better word than estate planning. But I wanted to really include the word dignity, because my belief is that pride and dignity is what the byproduct is of people who take their time and get this stuff done. Those who manage to go through a process with their facilitator or just direct with their solicitor or their professional advisors, people who get this done do have a sense of pride and do have a sense of dignity once the job's done. Your thoughts on that, Juanita?
Oh, absolutely. You can see the difference in people mentally when they start, this process, and they obviously had it on their mind for most people some time, and just to go through the process and to get it all done and have that big tick on the list really makes people feel good, really makes them feel like they've achieved something and done one of their to-dos, and it's a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I met with a client once. What town from, but I mean, over the last few weeks, I met with a mum and dad, an elderly mum and dad, and 4 kids, and the kids are fighting. Between the 4 children, there's actually been there's been a literal blue, and they're fighting because there hasn't been any communication between mum and dad and the kids in regard to what the opportunities are going forward. And one of the sons has been working on the property for the last 20 years or whatever, but there's been no communication, that word, between the parents and any of the siblings, to the point, as I say, where it's created a whole lot of conflict. The silence has created a whole lot of conflict, and actually some mental health issues have risen as a result of the children not understanding what mum and dad's intentions were for the family. And I think it's one of the things that I hope to achieve by writing this book and getting out to as many people as possible, is the opportunity to start the conversation, to open up the communication by people being able to read examples in the book of where things have gone pear-shaped, where things have gone well. And the point I was making with the mum and dad, and I sort of drifted away from it for a sec, but when the parents, the elderly parents, came in and had a meeting with me a few weeks ago, there were actually tears. Dad was visibly upset in a good way. He said, finally he just felt this release. There was a weight lifted off his shoulders just by talking to me and helping him understand that there was a way forward to communicate this, to take away all the secrets and create a fair outcome for all the kids and a direction for all the kids. There were tears. There was just a sense of relief, and in fact, one of the other sons-in-law rang me a couple of hours after the mum and dad had gone and just said, "Dad's just been on the phone. You've got no idea, what you've done in regard to his pride, his relief, his stress levels, and so on, just by this first conversation and providing direction for him." So, and you would have seen that yourself, Juanita, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic result. Yeah. No doubt made you feel very good.
Well, it did, because it's what we hope for, isn't it? Is to provide certainty, confidence, security. Fix up family squabbles and provide direction for people. So, and one of the first chapters in the book is actually around the importance of honest and open communication between all the parties: mum, dad, grandparents, children, and grandchildren too, where they're sort of sitting around wondering what's going on. Because I've been in situations where I've spoken at young beef producers forums and so on, and you've got this bunch of young kids who are sitting there wondering what the future holds for them, and it's all about honest and open communication. And the interesting thing, Juanita, and you might be able to explain why is communication between the generations so hard, do you think? Why is it so difficult? Why is it such a rare event?
I think sometimes it can be hard at the best of times, let alone with a prickly topic like succession of wealth and dying and those sort of heavy topics. Like you see just a difficulty. I think probably the older generation haven't been necessarily brought up in an environment where there has been open communication. It's a little bit different to the younger generation these days, when it could be over communication in some respects. And so somewhere in the middle, there's got to be a happy meeting place, I think. But that's just with general stuff, let alone with this sort of really important emotional laid stuff as well. Yeah.
Look, I'm now going to go through. Good answer there, but I'm just going to go through what we're covering off in the book, and some of you may have seen our process map before, and this is basically the 9 steps of our rural succession solutions process. But I just want to go through each of the steps and what we're doing in the book. I mean, apart from a whole lot of preamble and stories also in regard to each of these 9 steps, we've real life experiences of where having this conversation has turned on light bulbs or saved families and so on. Certainly up in the estate blueprint section, which is step number 8. I mean, the whole concept of the family, where the fact I knew what lilies to put on the coffin and what music to have playing in the chapel when mum was coming into the church and mum was leaving the church, where she wanted to be buried, and so on. I mean, there's just stories in regard to each of the 9 steps here, which hopefully will resonate with people and motivate people to take action in regard to getting some of these things sorted. But certainly in regard to, and let's start with number 1.
So these are real experience stories you've had that you've popped in the book.
Oh, absolutely. Every one of them is absolutely real. This is no fairy tale stuff. This is real stories of where, in each case, the other day, for example, I sat down and had a cuppa and a chat with a lady from out west, and within half an hour, the brother had sort of sat down, mum was sitting down, and all the stuff that came out from just having a cuppa and a chat with one of the daughters has sort of led to a whole raft of issues which they've now engaged me to help them to start making progress in regard to getting those fixed. But things that wouldn't have come out without just sitting down and having a chin wag, so to speak. And but yeah, for each of the 9, there's real stories in regard to things that have happened and where we've certainly been able to help people. But we're also starting. We're having at the end of each chapter, each of the 9 key chapters. There's other chapters too in regard to some of the things that we've been able to do. The fact that 97% of people, the truth is 97% of people don't have an up-to-date will, and so on. That's the truth, and the reasons why that's the case, and how good it feels for the 3% of people that do have all this stuff sorted. Interestingly, I've never met anyone in the 3%, but I'm statistically there should be about 3% of the population. All the Murdoch's clients.
Yeah, when they leave our office, they're in the 3%.
That's right, when they leave your office. But certainly in the cuppa and a chat, some of the pain points. I just want to cover some of the pain points that that come up, I guess, as part of that, and certainly the pain points. One, you'll have no confusion with this, Juanita, but communication issues within the family, not knowing how to start the process, and I've found that talking to someone this week, the biggest issue they had was kind of, and you could see they were going round and round and round in circles, and it was kind of like they were wanting to fix it themselves, and I said, look, the first thing is we've got to sit down and have this cuppa and a chat. We've got to talk about it, work out what the issues are. But one of their issues was not knowing then how to talk to their children. So the second pain point is a lot of people are confused and don't know how you could possibly protect wealth from sons, daughters, in-law, and so on. And the third one is not knowing how long the process is going to take, how much it's going to cost, how complex it's going to be, and so on. And they're the pain points that people have when we traditionally first meet them. So in the book we talk about those particular things, and we come up with outcomes to help alleviate those particular pain points. But from your experience, Juanita, any comment you want to make in regard to the good old-fashioned initial chat?
Yeah, I think from our point of view as legal advisors, we are trained in asking some specific questions to get information that will be useful in the process. But the best way to start is just to have a general chat and get an idea of what the end game is and what people's wishes and main concerns are, and that'll help identify what we need to address and solve and focus on as you go through this 9-step process of yours, Mark. So it's not just about, it's all about the person as well, isn't it? About about the what's inside, the wishes and the desires and the angst of those particular people. And so it's a great way to sort of start over that initial chat to get a bit of a feel for that, and as I said, it hopefully solve any issues that we can on the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, some of the I want to make clear too in this book that we're writing, all the frameworks, and by framework I mean tools, and in other words PDFs, forms that we get people to fill out and so on, or websites we send people off to. They're all there's going to be links to all those in the book as well. And some of the things certainly in the cuppa and a chat, we'll be having what we call a retirement conversation with people as well. Understanding whether they, some people, they just want to die with their boots on the farm. Some people have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, or whatever it is, and bringing out those sorts of issues. There's a squabble scorecard.
I was wondering what the squabble scorecard was.
The squabble scorecard. Well, it's really a whole range of questions just to understand the propensity to conflict within the family. We've got a tool called the 12 will killers and so on, which is the 12 most common things that mean that wills are just going to be useless or create more issues than they were supposed to fix. And so there's a whole range of other tools there as well for those that have got a big screen and can read that. They can. Otherwise, you can wait for the book coming out on the 1st of December. I want to talk about and I've got a feeling this is going to be a couple of weeks we're going to cover because we've only done one and we're halfway through our talk already. When we then go on after the first cuppa and a chat, we then go on because one of the greatest issues facing people, Juanita, as you'd know, is the unknown unknowns. People don't know what they don't know, and so in the burning issues section, and this is really you can see the time bomb sitting beside the guy there on the chair. The time bomb's about to go up because they don't know what they don't know. And in fact, someone this week I've been talking to, one of the siblings, is kind of suspicious of all this sort of chat about estate and succession planning. But I mean, the truth is, I think his biggest issue is probably, without knowing for sure, but I would suggest that he doesn't know the questions to ask to solve all the issues in regard to the family's estate and succession plannings. But so the unknown unknowns is the first thing. That's one of the pain points. The second thing is most people, 99-point-something% of the population, don't know how to protect their wealth through the generations against failed marriages, bankruptcy, premature death of any of the siblings, and so on. And the big one, and we get to this a little later in regard to the distribution matrix, but the big one is they don't know how to create fairness between the siblings and how to maintain family harmony. And so we're actually spending a lot of time there going through checklists and scorecards with customers, and these will be in the book as downloads from the book. But that's the area where we uncover the things you haven't thought of. We help you understand how to protect your wealth in general terms. We start the conversation around fairness and so on. We look at who's who in the zoo, and the legacy blueprint and so on is one of the ways where people can write down all the things that they own and they owe. As I say, we end up with a burning issues checklist, which is sort of in a lot of ways like a strategy document. But understanding also that the whole conversation, Juanita, around this starts from the heart, and you and I have talked about this a lot before, is that there's what we call your estate vision is one of the tools we put in there, and that gets people thinking about, not about dollars and cents, not about what they own, what they owe, but about what's in their heart. What do they want for each of their children? What do they want for those that they love and care for? And having that conversation with them first before we sort of dig into what are their assets and liabilities and all those sorts of things. So I'm doing all the talking, so I better hand over to you for a minute.
Well, it's an it's an obvious outcome from the cuppa and the chat, isn't it? Identifying those burning issues. I mean, that's the outcome of that first step. A couple of those sort of documents and tools that you mentioned, we've spoken about in some of our very earlier sessions and are worth a look at. But like essential to identify those, whether they're urgent or whether they're just causing significant angst, or whether there's a huge risk involved in the issue that's been identified, and that lays a platform to move on and get the estate planning correct.
Look, absolutely, and one of the things in there too is a second opinion from a specialist estate planning lawyer such as yourself, Juanita, or others in your team there. But fundamentally, the burning issues is all about helping people move from unknowns to having clarity, to having a documented clarity in regard to what are the issues that they really need to
or out of the head and onto the paper.
Yeah, look, absolutely. But absolutely, because really, in most cases, they don't know what they don't know, and so it's giving them the opportunity to look at some things that they maybe haven't thought about before. Now, step 3, and we've moved this one around a couple of weeks ago, but step 3 is now family harmony, and I moved it closer to the front because in a lot of cases, once I start an engagement with clients, the first thing I do is sit down and talk with mum and dad, then go off and talk to individually to each of the children. And that's the whole topic around family harmony. And there's a reason I do it individually, and a lot of other people have in the past, I think, Juanita, and you'd be aware of this, have wanted to get all the family sitting around a table singing Kumbaya and trying to create harmony that way. But I think the great flaw with that is that what happens is that, yep, time's up, you need to move more often, Juanita. Get that light back on. Well, I think the greatest issue here is that what you need to achieve is, see, you've absolutely thrown me off what I was talking about. Instead of having the whole, instead of having everyone sitting around a table, the loud ones will make the noise. They'll get all the attention, and the quiet ones will sit there and they'll walk out grumpy and start squabbling in the backgrounds. Their partners will create grief and all that sort of stuff. So talking to each child, mum and dad, and then each child individually, allows people to tell the truth and to actually, tell me what it is that their issues are, and they can tell me in confidence, and I don't run back to mum and dad and say, Harry said this. So what I've then got to do is listen to all these stories from each of the children, and then work out how best to sort of mould everything together to create something which is going to create fairness and harmony for the whole family. So it's a really, really important part of the conversation. And I'll talk about the pain points, but maybe you'd like to say something, Juanita, around this.
Yeah, definitely. I think speaking to family members individually does make a difference, because people are more comfortable in saying what they are feeling without any instant negativity or emotion or retribution. So definitely a very useful tool. I was thinking that this family harmony section, ideally it's right at the start, but sometimes you might have observed, Mark, that it takes a while to get to that harmonious place, and wherever that is on the process, it's really important. It's certainly the end goal.
Yeah. Look, I used to say that I could solve most families' problems, but I have struck a couple on the way where sons, daughters-in-law usually are the ones that, and I'm not picking on sons and daughters-in-law, but usually the children are all fine and you can come to a good resolution with them. But occasionally there'll be a son-in-law or a daughter-in-law that turns up with an expectation and really stirs the pot and can create issues in families. So sometimes it can be challenging. Mostly the kids just want to be heard. They want to have someone to have a conversation with, and they want the communication to open up. So there's a few tools that we use here: the gratitude conversation. There's a gratitude mindset that we talk about, really focusing on helping get people away from any even thought or atoms of expectation or entitlement turning up in their lives, to having a mindset of understanding that an estate, when someone passes and they have an estate distribution, it's really a gift. It's a gift, and it's an endowment from mum and dad. It's not something anyone can ever have an expectation towards. But the pain points that we're talking about here in the book is that sometimes there can be real turmoil in regard to creating fairness between siblings, especially if you have a number of siblings and one big asset and so on, and that can be an issue. Many times dad doesn't know, or mum or dad don't know how to communicate the plan to the next generation, and the kids are all in limbo. And this is a great example of that I used a few minutes ago about the client I saw a few weeks ago, where there were tears and from mum and dad when they finally got to talk about this with me and tell me how they wanted everything to be resolved, because finally they'd been able to talk to someone about it. They hadn't been talking to the siblings, and yet within the kids underneath, there were blues, there was fisticuffs, and some mental health issues sort of coming through. So, the parents, and it usually just demonstrates that the parents don't always know how to communicate this properly. And 99 times out of 100, there's no review process in place, Juanita, for changing needs and aspirations of the next generation. So it's all very well to have, 22 and 23 and 24-year-old conversations for me to have kids that are that age and have conversations with them. But I mean, the truth is that in 5 years' time, they're probably going to be in an absolutely different place in regard to what their thoughts are about the future. So one of the pain points is that, generally speaking, there is no review process. With ours, as we'll explain obviously next week, is we do have things in place to make sure that the kids have a chance to be able to verbalise how they're feeling and what's changed.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. Circumstances change for different family members over the time, whether it's growing families or moving elsewhere, or particular needs. So it's certainly something that needs to be revisited. And I think at those sort of younger ages, Mark, that you're talking about, such as your late teens, 20s, for those that have children of that age, their thoughts and their I guess goals and priorities and aspirations will certainly be different in the decade that follows. I think everyone can safely say they look back at that age and they've mostly fairly matured since then. So certainly would be an interesting conversation to have with the same family members, Mark, for you, I'd imagine. Initially, and then down the track again if you get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And look, we'll just do one more of the 9 chapters, and we can do 5 next week if you like, Juanita. But let's talk about due diligence. We've just got 4 minutes to go.
One of my favourite topics.
Due diligence, and we probably covered this in a lot of other conversations that we've had. But basically, the pain points are that is ensuring the right ownership structures with the right documents, and that the documents are current and relevant. A second pain point can be insurance ownership, making sure the benefits, beneficiaries and the direction of the payments is to the right place, whether that's to go into a testamentary trust for, whether the insurance should be paid through the will into the testamentary trust rather than giving it directly to children and so on. And the whole issue of what we call delinquent documents, meaning do you have current legal documents which are either out of date, non-existent, inappropriate, or just not there. So due diligence is really the part of the process where we take people from being unsure of where they sit in regard to many areas to validate it. And we're taking people from what we call a false sense of security regarding structures and documentation to a strategic report which allows confidence to know that the fundamentals are ensuring the foundations of what it is that you're trying to put together. Because I liken it to, if we're going to build an estate and a succession plan, it has to be on solid foundation, not on flimsy sand and gravel. Any thoughts there?
Well, that's a great analogy. And, there's absolutely no point putting in place a will or an estate plan, and then after the horse is bolted and that's all in place, finding out that an asset that you gifted's owned jointly, or an asset you've left is actually owned by a trust, or the trust that you left control to someone has got all these liabilities and beneficiary accounts, so they actually get nothing. So, if you don't check all those things, which is one of our processes before you put the will in place, could be a complete waste of time and/or could just not achieve what your wishes are. So it's for us in our process of advising on estate planning, it is one of, if not the, besides drafting the documents, most important steps in the whole process. And look, to be honest, not a step that formally every advisor takes. So it's probably another good example that, as we've discussed previously, what to look out for in a good advisor in this sort of area. And that's certainly asking those questions and doing that due diligence is certainly one of those key things.
Yep.
No, I was wondering, Mark, are we going to be getting these books in our Christmas stockings?
Well, the PDF version of these books is going to be ready on the 1st of December, most certainly, and then we've got to the Amy and Brooke Dorrit, who are putting the book together for me, have got to just format it up in a way. We send it, we download or upload it to Amazon, and then we can order a whole lot of books direct from Amazon, and they will hopefully come so that you'll. Which one would you like in your Christmas stocking, Juanita? The orange one? We'd better say maroon tonight.
Yeah, I'll go maroon today. Go maroon.
Right. Anyway, whichever colour the cover may be, I'm just getting really excited about the way the book's coming together. Amy's getting me in the next few days, I hope we'll be having a draft of what it's going to look like on the inside as well. And they just do such a wonderful job with all the previous books I've written and been involved in. I'm just really excited. It's like, in some ways, and at my age, it's like having another child. This child is going through gestation, and by the end of the month I'm going to have this wonderful book. But I'm most proud about it, Juanita, because in it I'm basically giving away all my wisdom. Everything that we've created, all the tools, concepts, and so on, are going to be in the book. And so if people want to do something by themselves, go away, read the book, download all the forms, and it's all there for you. If you need a hand along the way, obviously that's where we'll come in. But no, very exciting times.
Or if you want an autograph, or if you want Mark's autograph in the book.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how exclusive that is, but anyway, no. So, but no, exciting times. And Juanita, once again, there you are. And we've got to work out why your camera focuses on your plant, not you.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It likes my plant and not me. I don't know. It should be back. That's better.
Maybe you've got to just put your face in front of the plant, and then it will focus in on you. Anyway, look, great chatting with you again today, Juanita. Look forward to catching up next week. So everyone have a great week until we talk again.
Have a great week.